This is Johnny Tacos here with episode 2 of the new season, and I got my buddy, my best friend, the man that took on Dallas.
Filthy rich.
Well, I thought you went through a new one, man. I thought you were going Richie Rich. He
I
keeps
was
changing his names like I changed my underwear.
I was going with healthy rich. That was a bad New Year's resolution. Filthy rich, not a great New Year's resolution. Let's go with wealthy rich. No, that's just redundant. I don't know what to say. I'm gonna go with Richie Rich.
Richie Rich, because you're already rich in family and rich in the spirit. So there
And I
you go.
had I had a wild collection of comic books growing up of some child named Richie Rich who got everything he wanted.
Wow. There's no stain on there, you know. Why does he get everything and I get this can I can kick around like the
Yeah,
old people used to do?
I was always wondering that. Yeah, why does he get a Rolls Royce and I get a comic book from a child, a rich child? It was very disappointing.
Well, back then it was like 50 cents. They were like,
Right, yeah. My folks dropped 50 cents on a comic book.
here you go. This is all you're worth.
I
Here,
think so.
take $1, get you a couple of them. That keep you occupied for 2.5 minutes. Well, you got to add the point 0.5 because
So
you
true. And that was combined with the Christian comic books that I read a lot of growing up. And they were not as good as the regular comic books. I'll just say that.
and well, they actually have the Action Bible, which is a comic book
Action.
Bible, and I bought it. I bought it because I do love comic books. If you look
That sounds
behind me,
fun.
and it is the Action Bible. It's like I thought it was like a Die Hard meets Jesus kind of thing. Action
I
Bible,
want to see
Bible.
Noah out there doing karate against the rain or against whatever animals weren't going to get on the ark or I want to see Old Testament action comics in that particular format.
Well, there are some books in the Old Testament that is a little bit graphic. I don't know if I would really want to see like what was
The,
it, Abraham up in the
the,
mountains with
the graphic novel of Exodus.
yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you. All right.
Yeah. That's scary straight that but yeah, man, the whole topic of today's but before I get into it, because I'm getting all ADD everywhere. Um, Before we get into the topic, we have beautiful defects in the house today. We're going to interview them. We're going to talk about how their music came upon, and we'll talk to Celeste. We had Celeste on the show 2 years ago. She was with Heavy Worship Nation, which is a podcast slash music connoisseur kind of thing
Yeah.
in San Antonio. So we'll have them on today. We'll talk about their music. They're relatively a new band. So, I called them up because, I know Celeste and she goes, "Hey, me and Bethany or proper English, Bethany and I had a have a band called Beautiful Defects." And I was like,
It's
"Oh,
an
cool, man. You want to be on the show?"
all-girl Christian rock.
Yes. All girl.
That's all more girls than were in most of the Christian rock bands I grew up with.
Yes, which they all dress like girls back then. But I'm not saying anything bad about Striper
Oh, Striper.
or but that was just the fad. That's what it looked like back then.
A
They would
lot
have
of
the
spandex.
a lot of spandex, a lot of makeup, a lot of teasing of the hair.
A
I
lot of
don't know how they
rouge.
kept their hair with all that teasing because I used to lather my hair with hairspray and
Is
now I'm losing it.
is that thing where if you tie your hair back so many times you start to go bald to some
Uh,
extent?
oh, that's what that one girl had.
Oh yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, yeah. She like because she had to put it in a bun, like a tight bun, all through like her
It's no
uh
good.
kid professional years.
Yeah,
Now
as
it's
a
just like
gymnast.
yeah, and I don't want to say the name because
Gymnasts and Christian rock are very
yeah,
similar with the hair, the the dangers of the hair that come along with that.
yeah, and enough Aquanet to enough Aquanet to choke a small horse.
Oh man, or at least burn one up.
Have you ever like when you were younger? We're about the same age.
Yeah.
When the Aquanet was all around us, did you
Okay.
ever breathe some of that stuff in? I think that is what's wrong with me now because I lived in a household mostly girls, and you walk into the bathroom, it's Aquanet just cast on you like
I
you're
was an
you're a
I
fish
was an
in the ocean.
Aquanet user as a mildly long-haired man or child in the 80s and
Man
90s.
child.
A man child. I had the Danny Bonaducci hair. No, I don't remember who the haircut was, but it was long. It was a skater boy haircut, short on the sides, long on the top, and lots of Aquanet. So had I had introduced a spark to all that back in the day, it would have literally blown my mind.
It would have been a MJ experience.
Oh no.
You weren't drinking Pepsi, right? Oh crap! I'm not supposed to say product endorsement by Pepsi. No,
I was drinking a particular brand of soda that shall go unnamed.
yes, yes. So with that, because I had the Jason Newsted hair,
Oh
Jason
wow.
Newsted from Metallica.
Oh, that's where it's
Um,
at.
yeah, and I dyed it blonde
Okay.
because I didn't want to be like one of the goth kids. I actually wanted to stand out. But hey, if you're a goth and you're 6'6", you stand out anyway. So
Yeah, you're not supposed to be tall and golf at the same time. It kind of defeats the purpose because if you're tall, you have something to look forward to, something to be optimistic about. As a short goth person, it's just mum's the word on hopefulness.
yes, and that's how emo came along.
I
So,
think we've got a pretty good summarization of how that musical genre. Yeah,
we're
something
going
about
all over
short,
the place. We're
something
going
about
all
the
over the place
Napoleon
today.
complex. I don't know.
Napoleon. I knew a couple of people like that. They were like 4 foot something, but exploded like a nuclear bomb when you like messed with them.
Yeah, that's all you got.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm pulling up. I'm pulling up beautiful defects. Excited.
Are you defecting to the beautiful defect?
And beautifully defecting, if you will.
Yes. I like that shirt, by the way.
Oh, thank you. This is a Praise Against the Machine shirt. So, in Praise Against the Machine is my heavy rock worship experience. So excited to put one of those together this year.
And if you are a fan of the Johnny Taco Show, you remember the Lord Filthiness gracing his presence upon the podcast. What 3 years ago? Yeah, 3 years ago.
It was a dreaming experience, and I'll always know that that was the place and time I was meant to be. Thank you, Johnny Tacos.
Yes, when I looked into your eyes and you looked into my eyes, we knew we were going to be BFFs for the
I
rest of.
think that might have been the case. Yes.
And the hat too. My wife said I will pull off a hat like that, but I always wear it backwards, like
Oh,
back in.
you wear the hat backwards. This is literally, I was cleaning a surface so we could eat breakfast this morning. The only thing between me and that surface to eat breakfast was the hat. So I decided to just put it on my head. And then when I logged into our conversation this morning, I saw that I still had it on. And I was like, man, I look fantastic. So
You
thank
do.
you.
You look fantastic. I feel like let's go hit a couple of rounds of golf after here in the icy tundra that we call Texas.
Yeah, this is a special hat, a special golf hat.
So, hey, before we get too far into this rabbit hole, I just want to give a shout out to the men and women who are out there diligently taking out that fire that's happening in South California. And it's a shame that it started off with a small flame and then it just engulfed people's lives. It destroyed a lot of people's lives. There so far, I think there was five who passed on. Uh, people lost millions and millions of dollars in their property. I've seen business owners just breaking down because 40 years they had that business there and it's no longer there. So, if my prayer warriors that are listening here, just keep a prayer out for South California. I know that they, that whole state is pretty rough right now, but it was a terrible travesty that happened with.
And I know in pre-show we addressed some pets that have been affected, as well as the homeless population of that part of California. So all of those are in our prayers.
Yes, definitely, definitely. And if you want to help out, you can always go online and see what you can help to donate or to if you would like to volunteer firefighting. I think there's a program there that you can go out to California and help. Um, you can look on the internet. I'll have it posted in the comments below. So just a brief prayer for them. Well, things are a little rough there, and it's rough because 2025 has already had its fill of tragedies, and we just got to know that God's in control, even through this hell. I got to say hell that people are going through. God's still there. He's never left you and never will forsake you. You just have to lean on Him for comfort and understanding. Uh, Going with that, I know I kind of broke the fun vibe at the moment, but I felt like I had to say that because people gave California a rough time. And people are always making jokes about their political stance and stuff like that. But it's not a time to be thinking about that. It's not a time to be thinking about corruption. It's a time to be as a family come together and you know be there for one another. Do you agree?
What I realize, tacos, is that there's $10 million houses, $1 million houses in California, and there's 10,000, $50,000 houses in Texas. And at the end of the day, the way actor Steve Guttenberg described it is that you're walking away from your home, whether it's a $10,000 home or a $10 million home, with a suitcase that has the few things that you were able to put together in that 10-minute warning. And and that's tough for everyone. So we are thinking about them. And it is difficult to relate sometimes to folks that are wealthy from from that part of the world, but I believe that we have a that part of our calling is to be able to relate to folks like us, and folks that have more money than us, less than us, and especially during times of need.
But you also know that they are just humans like we are.
Yeah.
We bleed the same way. We do everything. We breathe. We have the same um, organs in us, and we're all a child of God, and we have to see that. And with that, you have to come to that ugly word, forgiveness, for a lot of people. That is a bad word, man. It is hard for me to forgive a certain small part of my past, people from my past. It's hard. I'm trying to. I'm getting to them one at a time. You can't just go cold turkey and just forgive everybody. Um, have you ever do you still hold any unforgiveness in your heart, or
You
have you
know,
figured it out?
when I think of forgiveness, I think of thankfulness, and I think of the situations where I maybe I did have to forgive, and my focus is primarily on being thankful that I have been able to move on from folks that I wanted to be angry at for a lot longer than I was. And I like to focus on being thankful as opposed to focusing on what I couldn't forgive, which by the grace of God has been pretty amazing that I've been able to forgive, just you know, friend stuff, weird relationship issues, and been able to move on and find comfort uh in forgiveness and then be thankful for those opportunities.
And that is a great way to look at it. You know, to me, forgiveness is a four-letter word, which is,
Oh.
I know forgiveness is a lot more than four letters. I know that people are just gonna, hey,
I
dude,
wasn't I
forgive
wasn't going to call you
me.
out on the fact checking on that one.
Yeah,
Forgiveness is more than four letters, but I get what you're saying.
because the more I tried a couple times, because they say, hey, once you get closer to to God, to Jesus, you start learning to be more like him, and forgiveness is is a big part. You're supposed to forgive your brother. Um, Not only does that forgiveness helps you to move on, it also is a stress reliever.
Yeah,
Because
I'm looking at Psychology Today and talking about forgiveness may not mean reconciliation with that person that you forgave, but it means letting go of the resentment and the anger. And that's just a huge first step. And it's something that we may not be capable of as children of God, but as folks who breathe the Holy Spirit through us, we have the opportunity to forgive in situations where we may not be ready or it may be more difficult than we thought.
yeah, and you could take baby steps, because I feel like if you just plunge into the cold water, um, you're that anger is still there. You haven't really rectified that issue to actually get ready to go through that journey of forgiveness. And with that, um, there's a couple of people that I haven't forgave. I haven't forgiven my, my ex-wife for taking my daughter away. I haven't forgave my father for abandoning me. Um, I need to work on these, and the one thing I need to do more than that is look at scripture. You know, how what Jesus said to his disciple. Uh, how many times do I need to forgive someone? Seven times? No, seven times seven. 70 times seven. You gotta keep that forgiveness, because not forgiving, and the dogs agree with me. Uh, Not forgiving is like a cancer. It'll start eating away at you, and all that's left is a bitterness shell of yourself. So once you learn to forgive, I think everything else comes pretty easy.
I think some of the fruits of the spirit, love, kindness, gentleness, self-control, all reflect back on forgiveness. And as a result, it's just a fundamental concept of the Bible, offering spiritual renewal and mental peace and emotional healing. That's coming from faithlegacy.org. But I believe that harboring unforgiveness can be very dangerous to our our minds and our hearts, and keep us from, pursuing who we really are and who God's designed us to be in His image.
Yeah. And I believe that that is 100% correct because it's in the Bible, and the Bible is kind of people say we don't have a life instructions. Um,
Mm.
we don't have a way to go through this life. We don't have nothing. There's nothing there to tell us how to do stuff. But if you go into the Old Testament, if you go into um, what is that? Deuteronomy? Was it Deuteronomy? That's kind of like the doctor book, is it?
I'm gonna
Um,
check it out while you talk about it.
yeah, because it goes step by step what to do, you know, about marriage, about laws, about what to eat, what not to eat. Just it gives a guideline on how to react uh towards one another. Some of it's like sacrifice a goat on
A
women.
little wild.
Yeah, it's a little bit it's outdated. Some of it's outdated, but
We
the
could we could
foundation.
pull up. Yeah, we could pull up Deuteronomy 38, 30 verse 8. And you shall obey the voice of the Lord and keep all His commandments that I command you today. The Lord your God will make you abundantly prosperous in all the work of your hand, and the fruit of your womb, and in the fruit of your cattle, and in the fruit of your ground. For the Lord will again take delight in prospering you, as He took delight in your fathers. I feel like that uh, reflects uh, God's desire to help us prosper, and forgiveness is a key step in our ability to prosper.
Yes, and it's a huge step if you really think about it, because you can't move on if you're stuck in place. You're stuck in that situation. You can't learn from it. You can't move on. You can't find out what is good that's coming to you that God's given you if you're busy rummaging through the trash from yesterday. And I used to dumpster dive when I was.
Now, some legitimate dumpster diving can work out as like a great makeup counter or a new bookshelf, things like that. But that's not the kind of dumpster diving we're talking about.
Yes, we're talking about dwelling on
Yeah.
personal vendettas. You're supposed to leave all that at the foot of Jesus and walk away because life you have to love. You have to show love. You can't live in hate forever because it will eventually destroy you and you'll be alone. And nobody likes a person that's hateful 24/7. They don't mind watching it on YouTube or stuff like that for comedic um
What's
kind
watching
of
it on the Real Housewives?
yes. But nobody wants to be around someone that's always hateful, that always carries that. So, and God has brought us here to coexist and to love each other and to be there for each other. And you can't do that with hate on your brain. Uh, with that, because we're getting closer, we got to go talk to Celeste and Bethany here in a second. Just remember, guys, baby steps. If you're trying to get through that forgiveness, it's a huge thing to do. And believe me, I'm walking through it. Rich has walked through it. Everybody in the world is walking through that. And if you need more information about it, more ways of how God um, talks about forgiveness, you can crack open that Bible, or you can go to a church. And what church are you saying? Well, if you're in the Midlothian, um, Waxahachie, Mansfield area, and you're looking for a church, Speak no more. I have a church for you. It's a family friendly, Bible based church called Renovation at the Peak. Uh, Pastor Tim and Pastor Benny every Sunday lays down the the scripture at a point where you're like under more understandable. It's more understandable, more down to earth. Um, they they get rid of too much of the gimmicks that a lot of the pastors nowadays have to try to rope people in. They're right there. They're unapologetic, just hardworking God's men. And if you want to go on renovation at the peak.com to check it out. When you go there, just give me a holler. I'll be more than happy to give you a hug because I go there. So, yeah, Renovation Church in Midlothian, Texas. All right, we're going to break for a quick second. We got beautiful defects coming on the show. Mr. Rich is going to stay here. We're going to have a good time. We're going to enjoy life. And I'll be back because I have to use the little boy's room. So here we are. Well, I don't know how to end this. Okay, we'll be right back. All right.
Tacos out, Filthy Rich out.
The Eagle has landed.
All right, we are back from that quick break. Me and Richie Rich is here with beautiful defects. We have Bethany and Celeste, all the way from the great state of Texas, aka San Antonio, where my lovely grandson lives. So we might be visiting San Antonio in March. So
Awesome.
we'll go and harass some of the local musicians over there.
Hey, a lot of our friends
Live here,
live
yeah.
here, so
This
you're
is
in good company.
the Christian rock population in San Antonio is outrageous.
It's
Where
crazy.
is this coming from?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I stand for
you got Reborn, Becoming Sons. I'll always ask them. It's like, were you daughters at one time, then you became sons? And Marcus just hung up on me. So
Oh my
He
god.
never hung up on you.
nah,
He's our bestie, Marcus.
Yeah, those guys are our buddies.
Yeah.
They're our friends. They're solid. And then of course my husband's band is based out of here too.
and
So
what's that band? So we can shamelessly plug your
yes.
husband's
Hey,
band.
I'll shamelessly stand my husband. I'll do that. So his band is Epigone.
Epigon.
And
Epigon.
yes, and his bass player is the former bassist of Relent, Bruce Gonzalez. You might be familiar with him.
Nah,
So-
we don't know him at all. I don't
Yeah.
know what to speak of. He was only on the show a couple of years ago. I don't
See,
know.
there you go. And I know he has a lot of connections too. So I figured, but yeah, so that's my husband's band, and they're based out of San Antonio too. And then Saving Jackie, another one of our good friends. Benny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. So
the coolest.
yeah, she's like what we aspire to be.
Yes.
Like we talk about it all the time. I'm
Like senpai.
yeah.
For
So-
real.
The new Alone single, that's about from about 6 months ago, right?
Yeah. I can't
Dang,
believe
6 months. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Features, I guess that's your husband that it features?
Yes. Yes.
Uh-oh.
So the harmonies that you hear singing behind me, that's my husband Jaron, and then he also does the electric fills and the solo. That's in the solo part of the song. That's him.
And you know what?
Unbelievable.
I didn't know Celeste was a drummer. She didn't.
Really?
tell me that. You didn't tell me that when we had that episode. You're like all in the back while Chill was talking. I was like,
That's
gotta
kind of
speak over
my,
Chill.
I'm not very much. I don't like to I don't like to put myself out there too much. I kind of like let myself just show like this is what I can do without kind of bragging about it. Try to be humble queen, okay?
She is very humble, which
She always brags about me to people, and I'm like, please stop. I'm uncomfortable. But yet the ENFP in me is like, okay.
I'm always hyping her up because honestly, and like we won't go into it too much because okay, just TLDR. I tend to be very chatty, so I'm like gonna do my best to like.
We talked about it last night.
Yeah, I was like, I'm praying about it. I'm gonna try not to overtalk because I want to give everybody else the chance to talk. But I get so excited because like I thought I was gonna have to do my music, solo. Which is like something that I was trying to work up the courage to do. And then, God just kind of orchestrated things in a way to where I met Celeste in a weird way, which we might talk more about later.
This is your spotlight. You can talk. You can talk as long as you want until I mute you. Then
Okay.
I
love that.
So
the power. No, I'm just kidding. I won't go crazy.
I think her story's funny though.
Yeah. we have an interesting the origin story, if you will. Was kind of interesting. Yeah,
you explain it better than me.
So like I said, I've been just kind of background. I've been playing guitar since I was about 15. I'm 33 now. And my husband and I both we've been playing guitar, been doing music for a long time, and I had always wanted to have a band, but for a long time, I didn't feel like I had the skills, to lead a band. And a lot of my time was spent I was still trying to figure out how to write stuff because I've always wrote poetry. And poetry is easy, but writing music and putting music to words is where I struggled for a while. And so I was kind of praying about it, and I was going, okay, God, do you want me to try? I don't know. I didn't know where to start. And I was thinking about doing, maybe an acoustic singer-songwriter thing because I was thinking, it's just going to be me. And so I was kind of in the middle of trying to work up the courage, to take that step, but still not sure about it. And I was looking for work at the time in the area, and I found a job as a library assistant at a local elementary school. Now, I didn't know that Celeste worked at that elementary school. I had friended her on Facebook because, of the podcast she used to host, Heavy Worship Nation. I followed the podcast, and so I knew of Celeste, but I hadn't actually met her, which is really funny because we talked about it later, and I realized that I probably saw her and Chill at the same concerts multiple times, but we just never crossed paths for real. So I knew her on Facebook, but I never actually talked to her. And I didn't know that she worked at the same school. So, but one of the things that they made me do was monitor the cafeteria every day. And so I had to stand at the front of the cafeteria, and watch the kids and make sure, they weren't smacking each other and throwing food at each other and stuff. And she works with the ALE.
Yeah, the special needs kids.
And so she would sit in the table with the kids right in front of where I was at. And I kept I felt so bad. I kept looking at her and going, why does she look so familiar?
And I could tell somebody's looking at me. And she was not so subtle about it. She was just like, and I was like, excuse me, ma'am. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna wait till a time I can approach her by myself.
And I was thinking you're probably creeping her out, but I was trying to figure out where I'd seen her before. And then, and so just kind of business as usual. And then one day she came through the library, when I was sitting there, and I don't even remember what we started talking about, but it was something music related, I'm pretty sure. And then she said, oh, I do this podcast with my friend called Heavy Worship Nation. And I went, wait a second. I was like, Heavy Worship Nation. I was like, I follow you guys. I said, it's even Chill, right? And she's like, yeah. And then she looked at my name badge again, and she went, wait a second. She's like, are you married to Jaron? And I said, yeah. Because they had reached out to Jaron before about being on the podcast. And so, all the
it was connecting.
All the connections finally made it. And it was like, wait a second. That's who you are. That's who you are. And then we were you know, we had like that Spider-Man meme.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
And so, and so, like from that point, you know, we just like we worked in the same place. So you know, we'd have our lunch breaks together in the teachers' lounge, and then she lives like right down the street from where I live. You know, and so she would drop me off at home after school. And like one day we were like driving home, and
that's where it began.
And I mentioned,
yes.
oh, I have some stuff I've been writing. And I was like, but it's not. I was like, it's raw. It's not that good. And she was like, oh, I still want to hear it. And so you know, plug the aux cord into my phone, and I've got my voice recordings of like you know just rough recordings of like some of my song ideas. And and she was listening to them.
Real close, get closer to the thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because you're going in and out. And
I'm like.
You sound like half of the time you sound like you're in the bathroom talking to me.
Okay.
So.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Now cut to. No, I'm just joking. We're still filming.
Yeah. So basically she was listening to the recordings, you know, that I did, and she's like, no, I really like it. And I was like, you can be honest. Like, I know it's rough. And
she's very hard on herself, you guys. But we identify the same as that too, so it's fine.
And she was like, no, I like it though. And I said, yeah. I was like, you know, I have a friend who does recording from our last church, and you know, he offered to record whenever I'm ready. I just, you know, and I said, but I don't I can't play drums. I did track the bass. So in the track you hear, I did the bass as well. So I can play bass, I can play guitar, but I cannot play drums. And she was like, well, if you need somebody, you know, to track the drums for that, I was like, oh my gosh, that'd be so great, you know? And like, we didn't really say we're a band. And then at some point, I think like she would come over to practice like on Saturdays, and she was learning all the stuff. And then there was just a moment where it was like, are we a band now? And it was like, I think we are.
But then what gets me is I told her, I was like, let me pray about this before I make this decision, because when I join something, it's like I don't just join it just because. Like it has to be like I'm going to commit to it. And it's not like I don't take it very lightly when I join projects. Like I try to give my best. Mm-hmm. So like in the past, before I was saved, like I was like in and out of bands since I was like 15 years old. So it's like I just didn't really care too much about it. But then, you know, after like really understanding the meaning of like giving my time to something, like, and like really like thinking like, Lord, is this what you want me to do? Like I really had to like think about it. And she's all for like praying.
Yes, before making absolutely. And that honestly, that right there is the heart that I want, you know, like that's the attitude that I want to be at the heart of a band anyways. So the fact that, you know, the priority was on listening to God, and like it's not about, okay, what do we want to do? You know, it's about, okay, like, God, what do you want us to do? And just like having that mindset, I think it's super important. So yeah, that like once, you know, once we kind of had the go ahead, it's like, okay, well, I guess we're a group now, and it's just the two of us, you know.
It's been amazing.
It has been, and you know, to be able to do it like as friends, you know, and just to become best friends so quickly, you know, like it's definitely been a blessing.
So Bethany, you identify as an acoustic player, an electric player, and a bass player.
Yes.
When y'all perform live, what's your setup?
So right now, we've only done one live show.
That was at a church.
And right now, currently, I sing and I play the electric, you know, and then she'll drum. We don't have a bass player right now. It is something that I've been praying about, because we want to put it all in yogurt. Which I realize, you know, is kind of a tall order, right? And
but it's possible.
And you know I'm not the only Christian female bassist out there. I know I'm
even
not.
a guitar player.
Yeah.
If you play guitar, you can play bass. Okay, like it's not that hard.
Right.
Well, we could always put a wig on Rich, because he plays.
Oh my gosh.
It's Regina.
I like
Okay,
that.
let's go. Yeah,
Yeah.
Richie Regina.
We
Yeah.
have so many, most of our friends are guys, right, in these other bands, and they're always like, well, like, does it have to be a female? And I'm like, yes.
Yes, especially going on tour.
I
I'm like,
know,
it's just gonna be awkward.
like,
I'm like,
I know
no.
you guys are for it, and we appreciate it, but no, like, like, it needs to be another female. But I've been praying, because I've just been saying, hey, God, like, can you bring the right person? Like, if that's your will, I know He will, in His time. So we've just been kind of, going forward one step at a
But we
time
make
with
it work
everything that we can
though.
do. But it is nice that during recording, it's nice that I can track the bass. It's really come in handy that I can do both because I'm actually newer to bass. I picked up the bass a few years ago because another local band asked me to be their bass player a few years back, and I was like, I'm flattered, but I play guitar, not bass. And so I kind of did a crash course in bass. I literally got the book like Bass for Dummies. I'm not even kidding. And I just started locking in, and I actually discovered that bass is like super fun to play. And I feel like it's very underappreciated, but I have had so much fun and really enjoyed like getting into the bass as well in the past few years.
Now,
Um,
are y'all familiar with bands like Royal Blood, where there's just a bass player and a drummer where the bass player plays all the guitar parts using a
yes,
series of
Wow. No, I've
pedals
never
with the
heard of
bass?
them.
that's
No,
crazy though.
see, the two of you could knock that out. I'm pretty
Yeah.
convinced. But yeah, you guys have all kinds of possibilities with that.
That's true. I mean, we are excited though. Like we're trying to get ready to, because actually, shameless plug. Um, in the next week or so, we're supposed to have our first online gig.
We got invited to do an online gig, so
So we're actually very blessed to be able to use like Bethany's church
mhm.
as a place to be able to do that because we both live in an apartment.
Yep.
And I'm like, I cannot play the drum set in the apartment. They would like just be so upset.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? Let's see what happens. We'll just like God be God and see what happens. And then
hmm
like Pastor Hicks was like, sure. And I was like,
Yeah.
what?
This whole thing has literally been like a walk of faith from beginning to end.
Like everything is just provided for us, like
Yeah.
without like just. I think it's because we're just like we're like, God, we give this to you. Like we're
Mm.
not going to try to, you know, make it all about us. And I
Mhm.
feel like her and I both bonded about that in the past because at least for me growing up, I was always like, I want to be famous. I want people to know me as like the best girl drummer in the world and blah, blah, blah. Like it was very much about me, me, me. And then the same thing with her. Like she always wanted to have the same thing where it's like people wanted, like she wanted people to know her and like,
Yep.
like be famous and all that. And then it was like, I feel like God, like we always talk about this all the time, like God, like really like humbled us in the fact of like, you know what? No, you are going to be alone and
Yep.
you're going to realize
And
that
you're
this is about me
Yep, you're
and
gonna
not
have to
about
work through
you.
some stuff, in your own life and your own heart, and go through some things, you know, and
Refining for
yes,
sure.
yes, and not like that's kind of what we're about. Again,
Yeah.
tying it in. When I was trying to think about names, I came up with Beautiful Defects because I was thinking of a couple passages, and I want a kid here. I can quote the verses, but I can't remember the references. But you'll probably recognize like there's the passage that talks about we're like treasures in jars of clay, you know, which is the band Jars of Clay. They use that for their name, but just that whole idea of there's that other verse, my grace is sufficient for you, and my power is made perfect in your weakness. Um, those were the themes that I kept coming back to because they tie into our stories, our testimonies, and I feel like that's kind of the heart of like what we want to do in our music. We want to be real, we want to be raw and honest, but we want to bring hope into the conversation in a way that is genuine and isn't like forced
like cookie cutter type thing either, because it's very like after a while I'm like, okay, are we gonna continue doing the same thing as everybody else? Like, what we're really trying to be like talking about real issues, and like a lot of the songs that you're going to hear is like talking about like we were listening to your interview with Tricord, and like a lot of the things that they stand for, especially like the mental health thing, and like being a Christian with like dealing with mental health, like anxiety, depression, and like OCD, all these other things.
Yeah.
It's not very talked about. It's just like, oh, just go pray about it and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like, no, like we like
yeah, kind of like pat on the back, send you on your way, kind of thing. Yeah. And I feel like there definitely is a need, in the Christian music space to be able to have conversations about mental health through the lens of the scripture. It is possible. It can be done. Now it's not easy to do.
Yeah, but a lot. I mean, look at the Psalms, though.
Yeah, but
like
that's the thing. Like we want to bring songs that are authentic and that can kind of reach people where they're at. And so that was really the heart, especially behind the single, because the single was written by a friend of mine. The lyrics, I didn't write the lyrics to that one, but the lyrics were given to me by an old friend of mine, actually from high school, back when I lived in Louisiana. His younger sister was one of my best friends. I was the maid of honor in her wedding. We were close, and that's why the song's called Travis Song, because that's his name. His name's Travis. Hi, Travis. If you're listening to this, I don't know.
We're gonna share it to him, and he's gonna be like, "Oh, like when we asked him, we're like, are you okay, like sharing that you wrote this, like everything?" And he's fine. So there's nothing wrong.
We cleared it. We cleared it with him first.
Hey, I just want to make sure we don't get copywritten. Hey,
no.
My name. Don't use my name.
No, we did. I kind of. So he gave us the lyrics to that. He messaged me separately about 5 or 6 years ago, and he was like, "Hey, I know you're a musician. I don't really play instruments, but I wrote this song. I was going through a hard time, really struggling with feeling lonely and isolated." And he was like, "I want to give this song to you. You can do whatever you want with it. I don't care." And I was like, "Oh, wow." I said, "Well, thanks, for trusting me with that. Because, I know this is very personal." He said, "Yeah, but if it can help somebody who's going through the same thing I'm going through, then I want to share it." And so I kind of sat on it for a while, because I was still trying to figure out like, okay, well, am I going to do this by myself? And so over the process of a few years, once we finally decided to like put a music out, we were talking about, okay, well, what song do we want to do first? Because I do have other ones that I've written.
And they're a little harder than this one. This one's more of a ballad one.
Yeah, this one I purposely was trying to go for more of a Southern rock ballad. It's a little lighter on purpose. Not all of our songs are going to sound this light. Some of them are going to be a little heavier. Not like metal, because I don't quite have the bandwidth to scream. Eventually, I'd like to learn how, but I don't know the technique for that. So, but when it came to this song in particular, we talked about, well, what do we want to release first? And I showed her, I told her about Travis' song, and I showed it to her, and I said, yeah, I put chords to it. Honestly, I didn't have to tweak it very much. Like, it was already structured perfectly. It fell into a rhythm. Like, I just sat in the room one afternoon with a guitar and put music to it, and it was almost instant. And that's how I knew. I was like, okay, normally it is not this easy. Like, so that tells me, like that God really, wants
people to hear it too.
Yeah. And so we talked about it, and we were like, we should make that our first single that we release. But we wanted to keep it a secret from Travis. So I purposely didn't, I made sure on our socials that we didn't have anything that gave it away, that his song was going to be our first song. And we recorded it. We got it all completely mixed and mastered. And then we FaceTimed him.
Yes.
Me and her and my husband, we have FaceTimed Travis. And we were like, hey, we want to show you something. And he was like, okay. Because he, this has been a few years, right? Like he probably thought I forgot about it. And then we played it. And he was like, like almost instantly.
Yes.
Like,
He's like,
like
you did it. You guys did it.
and I was like, yes. And I said, so with your blessing, if you're okay with us using this, this will be our first single as a band. And he was
What
like, oh yeah, good.
what line stuck out to you of the lyrics that he sent? Like what?
Honestly, my favorite, well, there's a couple favorite lines. The standing before the mirror, the eyes I see looking back at me seem so cold and dead. That it was very similar to a poem that I wrote when I was like going through a really, really bad time of, being depressed.
So you kind of resonated with the words because you
Mhm.
lived those words.
Yes,
So it was kind of a bonding experience.
Definitely. Like
definitely.
I was like
Yeah.
literally crying so much listening to it. Like even when we were recording it, like I was trying to hold back because like in the song when he talks about like coming home and no one's there, like he's just
Mhm.
alone.
Mhm.
Like I feel that because like and he told us in the place of writing the song, he felt like, man, like I'm not married, like I'm just
Mhm.
living by myself and like me as a single woman like in her 30s, like I resonated with that so much and like I just got so emotional like listening to it. I was like, wow, like I'm really not alone. Like there are people out there who
Mhm.
want to be loved and want to love like me. And like hearing like a guy say that, like it really resonates with me. Just different parts of the song and like just we were trying to captivate the emotion behind the song,
Mhm.
like especially like with the solo like like I we were like, wow, Jaron, like when he was writing the
Yep.
solo, like we wanted to make the solo sound like crying out to God, like being
Mhm.
like I literally told her I was like I had like a vision in my head of like what the music video would look like and
Mhm.
that's kind of like where the artwork came in for her as
Yeah,
well
I
because
drew the single artwork. So the picture that you see on Spotify and stuff, when you look it up, that's a drawing that I did to go with it.
That's very good. It's like a sketch art. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, and it shows the emotion of the song. If you actually
And
look
that's
at it,
that's exactly what I wanted.
that's
That
yes.
as an artist, that makes me so happy. It's like, yes, like they get it, like they get the vision.
well, what I wanted to say earlier is how metal is it to work at a school? That's really metal
You
there.
have no idea.
It's far more metal than
Legit.
you would.
People don't realize these kids,
Oh
like,
man.
they, like, okay, if you thought, like, in elementary back then, like, at least for me, when I was in elementary in the 90s, I was this generation is something
It's a
else.
different world.
Like
It's a
they know
completely
so
different world.
much. Like I was so oblivious to so many things, and like I mean. But then again, like all we had was like TV and like cell phones and all this stuff. All that stuff was like came later. Like I didn't have a cell phone until I was in high school. These
Same.
kids are like in third grade having their cell phone, like having all these social media apps, like talking about real world things. And I'm like, who are you? Like they're like little
They're
adults.
little adults,
Yeah.
and they're exposed to so much, like so early. And
And mind you,
yeah,
I work at a pretty rough school, a Title I school. And when Bethany came in, this was her first experience in public school. So she's like, "Oh my gosh, is
you
it really
guys,
like this?"
I
And I'm like,
was I was homeschooled until I graduated high school. Okay, I never went to a public elementary or middle school or high school.
Yeah, you're missing out on all the bullying and
yeah,
Oh
the
my
fighting.
gosh!
There was
Oh, the
fighting, the
fighting! It's
bullying.
all
real.
the
I mean, there
fighting.
have been kids that would attack the principal,
Yeah.
like literally fight the principal, like slap the principal. I've been like literally. I don't know if you see. You have me on Facebook, but I posted like I literally have back issues because I'm not because only I work with special needs children, but I mean that school like it's one of those like
Yep.
Freedom Riders, the movie. If you've seen it, I mean it's like rough like that. Like at elementary school, like compared to that high school, like it's known as the boot camp before you go to your actual school. And people don't want to come back, but I just like have a heart for these children because they're not their circumstances. And like her and I
No.
were talking about that last
Yeah,
night.
it's
Yeah.
definitely not for the faint of heart. But You know,
You
Definitely
can
not in for the money.
you can just see the teachers are over there like behind like a bar or something. Their heads are down. I've seen it all.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was a
That's
rough.
literally
I didn't know I was going to make it out. And then the person said, "Hey, what are you talking about? Being in the war? No, elementary,
Third grade.
third grade.
It's so
I'm an English teacher."
You would be shocked at the
Oh
stuff
my
that goes
gosh.
on. Literally, there was like, I don't know if y'all ever had a past of being around, drugs and stuff, but I used to be a big like, how do I put this in like PG friendly mode, grass friendly person. Back then before they came in my life, but there were kids, fifth graders. We caught them passing around, what, in the bathroom, and I'm like, where you get this stuff? Like, where you get it from? Like, these kids, I'm like, oh Lord, help them, please. I pray every day. I was like, please, Lord. I was like, I don't know how much I could take sometimes.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, it takes a special breed of person to go out there and to teach our youth because our youth needs it. Our youth needs to be led more Christ-like, needs to be led closely because unfortunately we live in a world where electronics kind of teach
Yep.
children and the adults of tomorrow. And what we need to do is we need to go back to that. Leave your cell phone in your room while we're having.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Yes. We both are big proponents of that.
You should tell them the story about the girl that asked for a Bible in the library.
Oh my gosh.
That literally made
Oh
us
my
tear
gosh.
up so bad.
Talk about things that will hit your heart. So I was a library aide. Okay. So my job was pretty much, to be in the library. Yeah, basically. It honestly, I did a lot more than that, and I didn't realize my job description was going to be cafeteria monitor and a million other things, but that's neither here nor there. But there was a girl who came into the library, and Celeste was there, because she had a spare moment and we were talking and stuff. And this girl comes in. I don't know what grade she was in. I think she was maybe like third or fourth, somewhere around there. A real sweet girl, and she's a big reader. And she came in and she was like, "Hi," she said, "I was looking, but she said, I didn't see, what I was looking for." And I said, "Oh, well, I can help you. Like, I have the catalog here. Like, what are you looking for?" And she said, "Well, I'm trying to find," she said, "Do you guys have any Bibles or Bible stories?" And Celeste and I looked at each other and like, like we had the same moment where it was like, we were just
like, huh?
like our hearts were just breaking because literally these kids, I mean, they have books on
Wiccan,
on witchcraft, on how to choose your pronouns, on all this other stuff, but there is not a single Bible in there. And oh my gosh, like just thinking about it.
Her heart,
Yeah.
having to tell her, I'm sorry, but no. And I was seriously thinking, like, you know what? If I could just go home really quick.
Yeah.
I had a Bible at home. I could just give this little girl Bible. It's okay. You can just
Oh
give
my
the Bible.
gosh. Well, and I
couldn't.
even asked her, I was like, I said, "I'm so sorry." I said, I was like, "We don't, but we should." Like, I just said it point blank like that. And then she said, "Yeah, 'cause like I read Bible stories." She's like, and I've like read everything that I have like at the house, but I don't really have anything else. And like, she has this hunger, right? To read more. And and here we are in a school in a library full of books, and there's not a single one that that's there for somebody seeking truth.
Yeah.
And it just, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's the world. That's the world we live in. But we're getting closer to the end of the interview. For everybody that wants to know more about Beautiful Defects, you can go on Instagram and look under Beautiful Defects. And just because I do this now, I have the Johnny Taco Spotlight on Apple. Apple Music.
Nice.
And I put my artists that I interview on there. So if you would like to listen to Alone. You can listen to it alone in the privacy of your car while you're cruising down after
You can
listening.
also listen to it with a buddy.
That's right.
Or,
Yeah.
or 10 buddies. You can like alone or other.
Or you can turn it up and harass the people late at night while you're driving
You
by.
listen to it on your
Yes.
sub.
Yes. Put
As
it on
long
your
as-
sub.
I have
Your
screamed out
face
The lyrics
scan.
to Alone driving by
Yeah.
myself. So
we still listen to it all the time. Like we'll just put it on YouTube or like
last night we did
Yeah,
it
we
just
did.
because we were like, you know what, it's been a while. Let's listen to it again.
Well, thank you, girls, for being on the show. It's always good to talk to you, Celeste, Bethany.
Aw.
well,
it
thank
was
you
awesome
so
to
much
meet
for
you.
having us.
And Rich, man, it is always awesome to have Rich on the show. My life is more richer when I have Rich.
Oh man, where's my drum set?
See, y'all
Thanks,
got,
Taco.
y'all got
And it's
best
fun.
friend
It's fun to
energy.
meet these awesome rock stars. It's cool.
Oh,
Aw,
Oh,
Yeah.
we're just
we're just two
girls trying to figure it out.
Yeah,
There we go.
Y'all are two broke girls. I remember that show. That was a good
Honestly,
show. Anyways,
yes.
Honestly,
no, but that's really not even far from the truth at all.
well, thank you again. Again, if you want to hear Beautiful Defects alone, you can check out the Johnny Tacos Spotlight on Apple and soon to be on Spotify. So it's going to be pretty awesome. Thank you again. And we're going to take a quick break, and then you'll listen to the hard word, my buddy Chris Johnson, here on the Johnny Taco Show. If you like this episode and you want to hear more, please like and subscribe to get the latest and the greatest from the Johnny Taco Show.